I'm learning that I could be still. I'm learning that I could be aware of my thoughts, but then let them go, and I come back to focus on a sound wave in this particular meditation. And then what happens is, over a period of practice, you realize that your body disappears. You're no longer in this physical thing. You're no longer having these waves of thought after thought after thought after thought after thought after idea, positive, negative, and everything in between. And in that space of recognizing that I'm not my physical body, I have a physical body, I'm not my thoughts, I have thoughts, I'm not my emotions, I have them. When you start to train yourself to use your brain better, more efficiently, more productively, you realize that I am one with this, incredible universe. So what's the big deal about that? Well, the big deal is that if I am one with this universe, with this energy, with everyone and everything, and that's where everything percolates from, is it possible that all my answers are right here, right now anyway? And the answer is yeah. And so meditation is about practicing. And we know that we have different brain waves. So right now, as people are watching or listening, they're in this beta brainwave frequency where their brain is oscillating at a certain frequency. And there's 50 different brain waves going on at any given time. But what happens is when I move from beta to alpha to theta, delta, or gamma, I'm actually accessing and activating different parts of my brain, which now gives me this deeper, greater sense of awareness of a much bigger, onion that I'm used to seeing. So I'm living on a layer of an onion. And what if I could see like 10 layers up and 10 layers down? So all of a sudden it's like, wow, look at who I am, what I am, who you are, what you are. And in that realization, in that awareness, I can now start to have different choices made. And so meditation is a practice of awareness. It's a practice of going internal instead of external, which is where most people live their lives every day.
John Assaraf, so much he said there, man. He talks about the alphas, training your brain, and you have different brain waves from alpha, beta, delta, theta, gamma. I mean, he got so much there. But the big key of meditation, I'm gonna give you two different angles on this. One is we need to practice more self-awareness in life, period. And one of the key ways of practicing more self-awareness is through meditation. And I like to add other things to meditation. I like to add a session of visualization and a session of affirmations. And the way you can really make that come together is through dedication. Meaning you gotta set aside a specific amount of time every single morning and make it part of your routine or your ritual, because meditation is everything. And there is, right now, we live in a society.
Just keep going.
Where we live in a society where people choose medication over meditation. I believe if you have more meditation, you might need less medication. That's just my opinion, okay? But I just think meditation is a lost art form that we have in this country and in this world, period. And the more we can meditate, the more we become centered with ourselves, the more we can become more self-aware, the more we come in tune with our purpose, our passion, our vision, and our mission. So meditation is so important. I just think meditation is the key to celebration. Let's go.
I like it. Okay, Drew said he had minimal things to contribute.
But he's got something though.
Now that we bought some time for him, what do you got, Drew?
Oh gosh. I find that the time that I spend walking around, just thinking through my day and my problems and whatever's on top of mind, just taking some time to take some space and kind of be with yourself as opposed to having all of the inputs come in. It definitely creates an environment where you can actually start to work on truly trying to figure out what it is that you're going after in life, whether that be with your business, with your family, with your friends. It just creates an environment that is unlike anything else. And if you don't set aside time to do so, it is something that is worth considering putting into your schedule.
Love it.
There you go. All right. I'll take this in a couple directions and then see if these guys want to bite on anything that I'm going to say.
Here we go.
The first is, when John was talking about separating out your thoughts, like I am not my thoughts, I have those thoughts, but I am not my thoughts. The way that I've applied that the most in my life has been the fact that I suck at something doesn't mean that I suck as a human. And so that allowed me to fail a lot more. Where at the beginning of my entrepreneurial career, I had to be perfect. I'm still a recovering perfectionist. I lost a $40 million deal when I was in my 20s because of it. And it haunted me for a long time. And it took a big shift of identity to say, hey, just because I fail at something doesn't mean that I am a failure. And I think that's why a lot of people struggle to get anything going, is because they feel like if they do not succeed at this thing, then they are a failure, period. And no, you just don't have the skills yet. Why do you expect to be so good when you don't have the skills at the beginning? Like, how do you get the skills? Well, you practice, right? You practice with mentorship and you practice with guidance, and you also just practice and you'll get better at the thing. And so just because you suck at the thing doesn't mean that you suck as a human. In fact, it's the opposite. The fact that you are out there trying, I think, means you're amazing as a human. Woohoo! Pat yourself on the back for it. So that's one, just in the disconnection of I am not my thoughts. You're also not your current skill sets or your current reality right now, and you can break free. For meditation, I love talking to John and guys who are hardcore into it. I separate it into one, just being able to be present, and then two, being able to go into a deeper level. So for the presence, this is where I've struggled a lot personally with meditation, because presence is pretty easy for me. We had lunch before coming here, and Drew was asking me all these questions. I just bought a new house. He's asking me, how many square feet is it? Like, I don't know. What's the interest rate on it? Like, I don't know. Did you pay cash for it? I don't know. I'm not thinking about any of this stuff. And I used to judge myself for it, right? People would ask me these questions like, I don't know. Should I know? Oh, now I got to go home and research this stuff in case somebody else asks you this question. I look like an idiot for not knowing. And I've just become more comfortable. I was like, I don't know. I don't focus on these things. I'm about making this video for you guys right now. That's it. What time is it? I don't know. What day is it? I have no idea. I know I'm in Las Vegas with Zane DeMay and Drew Hitchcock making this video for you. And so presence is easy for me. And so that's not much of an advice, I guess, but more, I think, a real benefit. So if you struggle with staying present, meditation could be really beneficial for you, where it's not as helpful for me. The different levels of brain waves, I've never tested it. It might be a curious thing to test, like to throw out I consider this meditation. I'm just here in the present moment, focused on making this. I don't remember what I said, and I don't know what I'm gonna say in the next 5 seconds, right? It's just being here with you guys. So I don't know where my brain waves are at right now. Maybe we're bouncing all over the place.
Beta, alpha, theta.
I'm listening to Zane and Drew say their thing. I'm in a different brain wave, and then I'm popping. That might be part of it. I think we are meditating a lot. Whenever you're in flow, I think that's meditation. It's just a form of meditation.
This is good. I want to add this because Drew just sparked this on my mind also, and Evan just confirmed it. There's different forms of meditation, guys. It's not just one form. So you got to try out different forms of meditation to find out which one works for you today, because the one that works for you today may not work for you 5 years from now, because you're in a different place in your life. But there are different forms of meditation, and you can just Google that and look it up, or contact Evan. He knows them. But anyways, and one more other thing that Evan said earlier, which is really good. And what he piggybacked off what John said about your thoughts. I really believe this. I believe that you are not your thoughts, but your thoughts can make you who you are. And we do live in a physical body. I think we're spiritual beings that live in a physical body, that have emotions, that have thoughts. And that means you're in control of what thoughts you decide to hold on to. Because you can always change your thoughts. If you could change your thoughts, that means you can change your attitude. If you can change your attitude and your beliefs, that means you can change your mindset. So you're in control of your future. You're in control of all that. You can do that through meditation. Let's go.
I like how it looks like you're just like coming out of the camera on the side. It's just like this floating Zane coming out of the side. It's great. And maybe final thought for me on it is the Dalai Lama said the best meditation is sleep.
Yes.
And it's worth, to Zane's point, experimenting with different things that make you feel present, self-aware, calm, peaceful, and maybe that's sleep. Maybe that is taking a nap. Maybe that's walking outside. Maybe that's sitting on a pillow. Maybe that's doing a guided meditation. Like there are all kinds. And just because one doesn't work for you doesn't mean that it's broken and the idea doesn't work or there's anything wrong with you. I get some of my best ideas when I'm just walking outside. It's a walking meditation.
I love it.
So whatever helps make you feel centered, calm, peaceful in the present moment, that's a good thing. And consider incorporating more of it into your life.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
The fascination that I have is around living in a world right now where we have access to all the how-to. How do I make more money? How do I grow my business? How do I have a great relationship? How do I, find the love of my life? How do I put a rocket ship on Mars? And a lot of people are confusing having information and how to with actually doing it. And I've been fascinated just in understanding how do I help people unleash more of their potential that already exists. And a lot of people may have heard, they say that we only use 5 to 10% of our brain. That's not true. We use 100% of our brain's capacity and neural networks every moment of every day. But the potential to use more is there. And so our researchers at NeuroGym really are uncovering how to take the best information from the world of neuropsychology, neuroscience, and give it to everyday people so they can say, okay, how do I overcome my fear of not being good enough, my fear of not being smart enough, my fear of being embarrassed or ridiculed or ashamed, or fear of failure or fear of success. These are all psychological issues that everybody feels, but very few people understand when I feel that, what do I do about it so that I can unlock more of my potential, so I can actually take more action, first on the things I already know that I could be and should be doing, but I'm not, and next on the behaviors that I could be taking to achieve my success easier and faster. And that's really my passion is helping people unlock that amazing potential within them. We all have these patterns that are subconscious that are driving our behaviors more than our conscious efforts. And so when we're dealing with the gorilla in the brain, and again, it's a metaphorical way to look at it, you have to understand that the gorilla is going to get whatever the gorilla is wired to get. The gorilla does not care about what you consciously want. The gorilla really focuses on the patterns that are going to keep it safe. And here's what safe means. Safe just means comfort zone. Let's say you're miserable. Let's say you're broke. Let's say you're overweight. Let's say you're in a relationship that you don't like. Let's say you're a job you don't love. That is safe to the gorilla. Why? Because it knows the pain it's already dealing with. It knows the discomfort. It knows the price it's paying already, versus getting out of that comfort zone, leaving the job that you're not happy with, leaving a relationship that you're not in love with, trying to earn more income, getting out of debt. You could be in debt and comfortable. You could be in a relationship you hate and comfortable. You could be in a job that you don't love and comfortable. And the gorilla is going to keep you in your comfort zone. The beautiful thing about the time that we're living in now is we can share knowledge and experiences, and anybody with a phone, an iPad or a smartphone or an Android or a computer, anywhere in the world, in the Kalahari Desert, in Antarctica, can get access and get inspired.
It's the best ideas in the world.
Yeah, to get the best ideas in the world, but to see that we're no different. None of us are different. The illusion is that we're different because we're comparing who we are compared to the person that we're listening to or learning from, and we're seeing the gap. And the gap is what causes us to be uncomfortable. But if we remember, we're all spiritual. We're all made from the exact same thing. You know, if you think about the human body, it's made of hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, helium. There's elements. Well, we came from the furnaces of stars. You can't have carbon, okay, in the human body that didn't come from the inside of a star. Helium and hydrogen is what the Big Bang was initially made up of. And then as all the gases coalesced and created stars and then galaxies, we became, our flesh and blood and everything that we became, the organism, has come from the universal intelligence. That's why we're all connected. And that's why we all have the same abilities, different skills, different knowledge, but the same abilities to become all of the ideas, goals, and dreams that we have. And so we just have to say, that is what I want to trade my life for. And even though I don't know how, even though I may not feel totally comfortable or confident, or I'm lacking certainty, let's get on the path. And then we can change the world together.
If everybody could imagine for a moment you're driving a car and everything's going great, and all of a sudden a light pops up on your dash. Now, the average person won't take a hammer and hit the light to turn it off. An average person will take a look at, what is that light? Am I low on windshield wiper fluid? Am I low on air in my tires? Is my back trunk open? What's going on? So just like the signal in a car is meant to make you aware, fear is a trigger in our subconscious mind that real or imagined danger has percolated in our brain. And so fear, there's nothing wrong with fear. We can actually use fear as fuel. Now, I like to, give people visuals. So imagine if you have, two parts of your brain. There's many more, but imagine these two. We have the Einstein brain and we have the Frankenstein brain. And when fear gets activated, let's assume that that's our Frankenstein brain going, what if? What if you get hurt? What if you lose money? What if you die? What if you get embarrassed, ashamed, ridiculed, or judged? And so why does Frankenstein even get activated? Because we're not born with those fears. And so if we're not born with those fears, that means that something in our brain is triggering this reaction automatically without our thought. And that is what we call as the fear response. And we also know that that fear response causes something called the sympathetic nervous system to activate, which causes us to want to fight, freeze, or run away. That's just the absolute reaction at a biological level of what is happening. Now, when we want to deactivate that sympathetic nervous system, there's several what I call our exercises that we can do that actually gives us more control, more power, and the ability to reactivate the Einstein part of the brain. So exercise number one is really, really simple. It's called Take 6, Calm the Circuits. So as soon as you catch yourself in a state of doubt, fear, worry, anxiety, stress, that means that Frankenstein's activated. If you just took 6 deep breaths in through your nose as slowly as you could, and then you exhaled as if you're exhaling through a straw in your mouth. If you just did that 6 times, that very simple exercise would deactivate the Frankenstein brain and allow you to reactivate your thinking, imagination, Einstein part of your brain. And then you can do the second exercise, which puts you right back in control. And that one I call is AYA, A-I-A, which is now a matter of awareness of my thoughts, emotions, feelings, sensations, or the behaviors that I've just taken, or the one I'm afraid to take. And in a pure state of awareness without judgment, blame, shame, guilt, or justification. Let me repeat, without any judgment, blame, shame, guilt, or justification of the feeling or the thought or the behavior, now I'm empowered again because now I can observe. And now in this observational mode, I could say, okay, what's my intention, let's say for the next 10 minutes? Well, my intention is to be happy. Great. My intention is to be productive. Great. My intention is to, take action on this one thing that's going to help me towards my goal and dream. So in the awareness and in the intention, then if I say, what's one small action step I could take towards what I want instead of what I don't want? So all of a sudden, I've interrupted a fear pattern. I've created this state of awareness. I've set an intention, and now I'm taking action towards what I want versus being paralyzed by what I don't want and a fear that may or may not be real. So awareness is what actually gives us choice, and choice is what actually gives us freedom if we make the right choices. You all know that you have a conscious part of your brain that's responsible for certain things, okay? But then you also have a subconscious part of the brain, subconscious. And so what is this 800-pound gorilla that prevents you from achieving your goals? Like, what is it? Like, what do you think it is about the subconscious that prevents you from achieving your goals when consciously you want to achieve your goals, right? Consciously, you want to achieve your goals. And Kamyar, yeah, we have, right hemisphere and left hemisphere of the brain. And in between, okay, we have something called the corpus callosum that connects both hemispheres. And contrary to popular belief, we're not, left brain dominant or right brain dominant. We use all of our brain every 24 hours. So you don't use only 5 or 10% of your brain. The possibilities are endless. All right. But when you're talking about the gorilla, the subconscious is the, what I talk about in the book, right, is I named it the gorilla. So conscious and subconscious, yes. And so tell me what you know about the subconscious mind. Like, if it is the 800-pound gorilla, what do we know, right? The gorilla gets what the gorilla wants. And so if you ask yourself a question of, do I really know how to get my subconscious mind aligned with my conscious desires and goals? So answer that question for me. Answer me that riddle. Do you know how to get your subconscious mind? And by the way, the subconscious is not like here and the conscious is here. We know that the left prefrontal cortex, for example, is the seat of awareness, and it's the seat of decision making. It's the seat of choosing what we want. We know that this part of the brain we call the left prefrontal cortex, and it's what I call is the Einstein part of the brain. It can figure things out. You consciously can figure things out. The right prefrontal cortex is the pessimist, or what I refer to as the Frankenstein part of the brain that moves into the memory system and brings forth anything that may get you into trouble, anything that may be painful, anything that might hurt you. And so there's these things going on in the brain. If you think of your brain as an orchestra, and some of your brain is responsible to play certain pieces, and other parts of your brain are there to protect you. When those pieces oppose each other or are not in alignment, then you have chaos. Whenever I want to create anything, whether it's my physical body, a home, a car, a trip, there's a big part of our brain called the occipital lobe, back of our brain. Even when light comes in through our eyes, right, cells in the back of our brain activate and an image pops up in our brain. And that image that pops up into our brain is connected to the motivational center and the thinking center part of our brain. So if a negative image pops up, we reduce our motivation and we don't take action. And then we reinforce that pattern. But let's say I have an image of something that I really want, something that inspires me, then as soon as I pop up that image in my brain, I actually release dopamine, okay, the reward neurochemical in my brain that actually creates motivation, that's actually tied to what I call as the Einstein part of the brain that can actually help you figure out how to achieve that thing. And so I create images of what is it that I want to create for health, wealth, relationships, career, business, charity, fun, and experiences, so that I can activate the reward circuits in my brain, the motivational circuits in my brain, the thinking centers in my brain to help me figure out how to achieve it. But the other purpose of a vision board is to give your brain the instruction of, this is the stuff that's important to me that I want to create, do, be, have, or give.
Right.
So, we all have, 50,000 thoughts a day. We all have so much on the social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or Clubhouse or whatever, all the different, stations and channels are, and the people that want to gather our attention. Well, why don't we become better at focusing our attention on what we want to trade our life for? Right? Because when somebody is pulling us to look at their stuff, like, we're part of their goals and dreams and their vision, versus me being focused on what is it that I want to trade my life for, and instructing my brain, help me find ways to trade my life for these things. And that's how to use your brain properly, versus your brain using you, because it may not have been conditioned properly with the right beliefs and focus and awareness and habits. If we said, in a year, we all want to jog a marathon together. And let's say you're in awful shape right now, but we started with a 5-minute walk today. And then 5-minute walk tomorrow, 5-minute walk the next day, then maybe 10 minutes, then maybe 15, maybe a light jog 30 days from now. Is it possible that with the commitment that we're going to do a marathon in a year, and the beginning commitment to doing a little bit today and a little bit more each day, including getting massaged and eating well and resting and getting a right program for how much we should train, is it possible that almost every one of us a year from now could slowly jog a marathon? The answer is yes. That means that the issue is not that you can't run a marathon. That means that A, you haven't made a commitment to run a marathon, and then you haven't put together the process in order to do it safely and effectively, which means that I don't care what your current situation is right now, there is a way out. You have to start with your commitment and then get started.
When someone is really having a hard life, hard time, they're in the situation that they don't want to, I don't want to practice my inner side, I don't want to visualize. What suggestion you have for them, when they have the dark night of the soul?
Well, listen, if you don't feel like doing something once in a while, then you're human. Sure. But let me know if this resonates with you, and whoever's listening, let me know if it resonates with you. Do you agree with this statement? In life, you're going to either pay the price of discipline, or you're going to pay the price of regret. Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. That's Jim Rohn, by the way. And so when you're sitting there and saying, I don't feel like it, my question for you is, what do you not feel like it more? Doing this little thing or living a life of regret?
Wow, that's huge.
Right? So let's create a juxtaposition against what I don't feel like doing, and let's use contrasting to say, are you okay with this being your character? Are you okay with this being your life forever? Are you okay with developing a lazy habit and lazy disciplines? Are you okay for the next 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30, 40 years, having that as your modus operandi and your identity? If you're okay with that, great, don't feel like it, don't do it, but then don't complain and don't want any more. But if you're not okay with the short-term and long-term consequences of that decision, then here's what I want you to say. I know I don't feel like it, but I will do just a little bit.
And there are 7 core emotions that people have, happiness, sadness, fear, disgust, shame, guilt. Those are just emotions, and it's either something that's happening on the inside that's causing that emotion, something that we associate with what we're doing, or something from the outside that's instigating that emotion. And so the first part of any change is to recognize the emotion that I'm feeling and not laying judgment on it, but accepting it as just energy in motion. It's either pleasant or unpleasant, something we want to move towards or move away from. So once we recognize it, the question then becomes, is it real? Is it true that I'm feeling this as a result of the meaning that I'm giving it? And in most cases, it's not true. It's something that we have become conditioned to believe is true because of the references or because of our own experiences that we have around that issue. And the way our brain works is anytime that we feel uncertain about something that may cause us harm or pain, a part of our brain called the reptilian brain actually activates in a billionth of a second a fear circuit which causes us to either flee, which means run away, freeze, which means we do nothing, or fight it, which means we're in most cases fighting air. And so if we can reframe something, the meaning of it long enough to let the emotion pass, that causes the third R to be activated, and that's the release of an unpleasant emotion. One of the things that I really learned many, many years ago was something around habits. And the habit is more important than the intensity.
Yeah, the consistency.
The habit, if you can get into doing something productive, constructive every day, you will continue to do something pro your goals, pro your health, pro whatever it is every day. And some days, I have a trainer that comes to my home as well. And some days I'm exhausted, I'm just exhausted. But I still go through the motions even when I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Because the habit's more important to me than the intensity. So some days I feel like I don't want to work out.
Right.
I still do something. I don't care if I lay on the ground and my trainer moves my legs or my arms, I just move my neck left and right. I've still done something to create movement and to enforce or reinforce a positive habit that is part of the nucleus of success.
Every single brand has an identity, and the identity comes with it, a certain color, a certain way of being. An identity means something to people, right? So when you are thinking about you as your personal brand, what is the identity of your brand? Right? Is it Mercedes-Benz or Volkswagen? Is it Adidas or Nike? Is it bright colors or dull colors? Every brand has an identity, and you have to choose, when you are building your personal brand, an identity that resonates with who you are. When you're a personal brand, you have to be an authentic you. And so in order for your brand to show up as you, what does your brand say about you? So here are a couple of questions that you may consider. Many of you have followed my work for quite some time. Would you agree that there's a consistent theme about what I teach and how I teach it? Right? Is there a consistent theme around mindset, around skill set, and around action set? Do you notice that if you followed my work, for a year or 2 or 3 or 4, I specialize on the neuroscience and neuropsychology of success. That's my theme, my underlying theme. If you've noticed, another part of my brand is consistency, right? So I show up Tuesdays, every Tuesday, right here at 9 o'clock Pacific time, which is San Diego, right? So when you are thinking about your personal brand, I want you to take out a sheet of paper and I want you to write down, what does your personal brand look like? If you take a look at, my book, Inner Size, okay? My newest best-selling book, not The Answer, but Inner Size. If you take a look at Having It All, if you take a look at the colors, in my office on the wall, right? Look at that, the colors on the wall. If you take a look at the colors, of my company, NeuroGym, there's a consistency of colors, right? Right? There's a consistency of colors. And so one of the things that you have to understand when you're developing a personal brand is you're developing coherence in somebody's brain around your colors, your theme, what you stand for, what you're all about. And so the first thing to consider when you're developing your personal brand is first to define what is your personal brand. Whenever you're looking to grow spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, there's going to be lessons involved. And if you don't learn the lesson, you're going to repeat it. That's number one. But more importantly, when you're doing things on planet Earth in the physical realm, you have to do the right things in the right order at the right time, and nature doesn't care about whether you make mistakes or not. You are going to pay the consequences of those mistakes. And so when we make errors in our judgment, or we make errors in our timing, or we make errors in our tactics, we pay the consequences. And that's just part of the game. And I personally believe that we're playing in a precision model game. And so there's nothing that's out of order in the universe. So if nothing's out of order, my job is to be in resonance with the order that already exists. And that is, for me, resonance or, chaos. So I don't look at it as attraction. I don't think that we attract, stuff to us the way most people think about it.
Is that resonance, though, because, I believe we live in an energetic world, is the resonance based on a frequency or a vibration?
Yeah. So if you sit at the piano and you hit the A440 key, chances are that a chandelier that's in resonance with that is going to start vibrating, even though there's no strings between the two. So through the medium of air, anything that's in resonance is in this attractive state or in this coherence state. By the same token, if you hit the A330 key, you're not going to hit that chandelier frequency. And the same is true with the tuning fork, right? So if you have a tuning fork and you hit a certain key, the tuning fork will start to vibrate. That's resonance. A lot of people think, well, that's attraction. No, it's not attraction. It doesn't work that way from all the research that I have mustered. So my job, and we get into some of the brain stuff, is if you think about a radio. If you turn on a radio and you want to hear or if you want to hear classical music, you might go to 95.5, and it tunes into a frequency that's already here. It's not attracting it, it's already here. If you don't like classical music, you go to 103.3 and you have punk rock. It's already here. So how do we use that as a corollary relationship to, if my brain is the world's most sophisticated electromagnetic switching station, is it possible that I can tune into frequencies of what's already here? And the answer is yes, that's resonance. And so we can tune in on a spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical level. And when you create that coherence, then all of a sudden you start to be in the awareness of everything that's already here that you weren't in coherence with before. And people say, well, I must be attracting it. No, it was already here. How specifically am I going to achieve that goal? Like, what are the strategies and the tactics? Meaning, what are you going to do? How specifically are you going to do it? By when? Right? So now when we have, an attitude of goal achievement, of getting clear on the goal, coming up with what I'm going to do on Monday at 9 o'clock, and here's how I'm going to do it, and here's whose help I need. I'm going to put it right into my calendar, and I'm going to take inspired action. And when an obstacle comes in my way, I'm going to ask myself empowering questions like, how can I overcome this obstacle? What can I do
to overcome this obstacle? Whose help do I need? What book can I read? What do I need to search on Google? What YouTube video can I watch to overcome this obstacle? Where can I learn better strategies and tactics to make what I do more efficient, more productive, more constructive versus me just working hard and long trying to do what to do? There's a formula called PPP equals PPP, and it goes like this. Piss poor planning equals piss poor performance. And many people, I have found, don't have any real plans for what they're going to do today, this week, this month, this quarter. They show up every morning, okay, without a roadmap to go from where they are to where they want to be by the end of the day. So what are you going to do today to achieve your health goals, your wealth goals, your relationship goals, your career goals, your business goals, your fun goals, the experiences you want, your charitable goals? What are you going to do today or this week to move yourself forward, to make progress every single day? And then what are you going to do to manage your mindset and your emotions? What are you going to do to overcome the obstacles that are in your way, whether they're mental obstacles, physical obstacles, financial obstacles, strategical obstacles, tactical obstacles? Now, you may be watching me right now going, oh my God, there's so much stuff there. Well, yeah, if you want to achieve goals, there's a thinking, there is a feeling, and there's a behavior that gets you there. And there's also a thinking, a feeling, and a behavior that does not get you there. Most people, confuse activity with productivity. They confuse setting goals from achieving goals. They don't understand that you have to create some kind of a roadmap to reduce the resistance and uncertainty and stress and fear and anxiety in your brain so that you activate your motivational centers, the motive for action center in your brain, so that you actually take action instead of repeating your old patterns over and over again.
How do you stand out from the competition? I want you to think about this, and this is based on Seth Godin's book called Purple Cow. I want you to imagine you're walking, in the country area, and off in the distance you see a herd of cows. And big deal, there's just cows. But what would you do if one cow was purple? What would you do if one cow was purple? You'd go, holy shit, look at the purple cow. Well, let me ask you a question. When people look at your product or your service, your offering, whether it's on your website, your landing pages, radio, television, billboards, when you speak, do they go, holy mackerel, that's unique, that's different, that I have to pay attention to, right? Do they say that, right? And so Miriam is saying, I would pay attention to that cow, right? Why? Because it's different, it's unique. So biggest mistake that people make in 2021 that I want you to stop is I want you to think, okay? If you just start to think about, what can I do to stand out like a purple cow? That'll put you ahead of 90% of business owners right now because they don't figure that out. They don't understand that in order to clear through the clutter of all the noise, you have to stand out first.
When I first learned about the law of attraction, I was 19 years old. But I was taught that with the law of attraction also is the law of Goya. And nobody talks about the law of Goya. I've been around.
Is that Christian people?
No. No, but the law of Goya is the get off your ass
says,
law.
don't marry a Jewish girl. That was the law of Goya.
That's all. The law of Goya, right?
Sorry.
No, the law of Goya is the get off your ass law. Right? And so a lot of people who think about this law of attraction stuff is sit there like a monk, and meditate and visualize and believe and write your goals down, and that's going to happen for you. And it's bullshit. It's just raw bullshit.
Thank you.
I don't have any friends, zero, that don't bust their ass in pursuit of what they want, in addition to being in resonance with it and attracting it. They are busting their ass every day, every week, every month, every quarter, every year, ups and downs, highs and lows, things that work, things that don't, and they keep moving forward to make it happen. and they find along the way, they get some lucky breaks. When we talk about the word fear, right? So let me start off with another little premise here is most people are highly ignorant in understanding what fear is. Now, I want to make sure people heard me correctly. Ignorance doesn't mean you are stupid. Ignorance means you just don't know. We're all ignorant.
We don't know what we don't know.
Well, we don't know what we don't know, and even the things that we do know may not be accurate. So when we talk about fear, there are 50 different types of fear. All fear is processed in the subconscious mind. The automatic neurochemistry that is created as a result of the meaning that we give certain things that cause us to either be in a state of fear or a state of courageousness is all being processed in our subconscious mind. So what causes fear for you doesn't cause fear for me or for somebody else, or may cause fear in other people. So whether we're standing at the top of a building that's 100 stories high, some people look over and don't have fear, and other people do have fear. Whether there's a giant 10-foot boa constrictor in front of you may cause fear in you, that doesn't cause fear in another person. So it's never the thing that is causing the fear. It's the subconscious interpretation that we've been conditioned to believe. The meaning that we learn to give something determines whether the neurochemistry of fear is activated that causes us to feel a certain way. So the feeling, of being scared, the feeling of being uncertain, this feeling of having self-doubt, the feeling of having too much stress in our life, that is an effect, not a cause. So feelings are conscious, our ability to be aware of this stuff that's going on in our body that we either know or don't know how to handle or do anything with. So feeling is conscious. Fear is subconscious. And so if, for example, we have, one of the examples I use is, and you don't have this, obviously, but if I ask 100 people, do you have a fear of public speaking?
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say that.
I'm reading your mind. I'm reading your mind. Well, it's not your fear. And that's what I'm going to say. So the actual fear is of being embarrassed, ashamed, ridiculed, or judged. So if we're afraid of being embarrassed, ashamed, ridiculed, or judged, that has nothing to do with the actual public speaking. It has to do with our self-image and self-esteem and what we think of ourselves and what we believe others will say or think about us, which will affect our own self-image or self-esteem.
So you may or may not know this story yet, but 10 years ago, I was 238 pounds, 33% body fat, borderline hypertensive, almost full-on diabetes, severe sleep apnea, not in good shape.
No, I did not.
So I said, listen, you've done okay in business. You've done okay with your relationship. You're happily married. Great, this and that. Look at you. You're a physical mess. Yeah. And so words are really, really, really critical because there's something really important listening. And so if you're using words that you're reinforcing, if they're self-deprecating words, you're reinforcing a self-deprecating self-image, which means Frankenstein brain is going to be triggered by those words. So if you think about weight, what is it? Every pound is 3,500 calories of energy, right? And so when you think about what do you do when you lose something? What have we been taught to do when we lose something? Try and find it.
Go find it. Go get it back.
So if weight is energy, I said to myself, what do I need to do to release this energy back into the universe, back in the form of hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, whatever it is, so that somebody else who needs it right now can use it? It served me long enough. I'm ready to release it and to change, my physique, to change how I feel, to change how I look. And my goal back then for my 50th birthday was to get into the best shape of my adult life for 50, which I did. And then my goal is to have a six-pack at 60, which I'm already there. So I'm actually almost there. But the whole idea was the words that I use, right, are really important because they're the words that I listen to and reinforce.
We have 100 trillion cells in our body. I've had neck injuries, shoulder injuries, meniscus injuries. I've had ankle injuries. I've had injuries because I've always been pretty athletic. If you think about what is happening every time I breathe in, I'm breathing in hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, plus a whole bunch of other elements from the air. What do you think your bones and tissues and muscles are made of? I'm eating, let's say I'm eating a protein, whether it's tofu or a piece of chicken, right? I'm eating a protein that is making muscle. I'm eating fat. I'm drinking water. We are made up of hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon mostly. And so every 7 years, we're making a whole new body. Our eyeballs are different. Our skeleton is different. Our brain is not the same cells that were in our brain 7 years ago. Our lungs, liver, heart, tissues, nothing is the same. And so if I am visualizing, if I am meditating, if I am seeing a new healed bone, if I'm seeing a new healed part of my being, is it possible that I can direct some of what's happening in my body? And the answer is, of course I can. There are so many people that have healed, from traumatic brain injuries, from back injuries, from tears and all that stuff. And so I absolutely believe that we can heal. So that is my opinion. And we are just starting to scratch the proverbial surface of what our potential really is, and it starts with our brain.
The research that our neuroscientists and neuropsychologists provide us with is what drives behavior, what are emotions, what are feelings, what are the 6 core emotions that are processed at the non-conscious level that give rise to feeling. See, feeling is conscious awareness of what I'm experiencing in my body. The emotion of anger, disgust, shame, happiness, or fear is processed non-consciously. That gives what? An electrical signal that we feel. That's called feelings. And so what we're fascinated with is how are people processing information that gives rise to feelings, which then causes people to take action or not. So that's the kind of stuff I'm fascinated with. And then how can we help somebody shift their perspective? If you change the way you look at something, the feeling changes. So if you change the meaning, you change the way you look at something, the feeling changes. If the feeling changes and we help people put their foot on the gas instead of on the brake, then they're going to take action. And most people, if everybody's watching right now, they're thinking, why am I not doing, forget about learning anything new. Why am I not doing the things I already know I should be doing? So a salesperson, you mentioned earlier, they know they should be prospecting. Why aren't they prospecting more? Why not? Well, it's because something in their brain has got the brake on. Why not discover why? Get your foot off the brake, take action.
If you want another amazing John Assaraf clip, check it out right there next to us. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe. I'll see you there.
If you think about what makes up who we are. So obviously there's genetics. There's our genetic makeup, so our predisposition, our propensities.